Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Weld Drift. My name is Tom Clements. I am the owner and operator of Harbortown Fabrication in Melbourne, Florida, and this is my YouTube channel. I decided to create this just to kind of give you guys a behind the scenes look at what goes on in my shop, kind of working on roll cages, how we do our engine builds, and then just working on various other street cars. Alright, so this first video that we're making is going to be on our customer Brandon's S14. We just did a FD spec cage in it for him, and we'll go ahead and we'll do the walk around on it. I'll kind of show you why we did what, the things that I take into consideration when building a cage, and then also the suggestions or recommendations, what the customer wants, kind of their own personal touch on the cage. So we'll go and we'll check out the vehicle, and then we'll come back and chat some more. Alright guys, here we have Brandon's 240. This is the cage that we just finished. And there was a few things that we did on here that he wanted, that was going to be, he wanted to have certain requirements about the cage. So one, we wanted to make sure that we had plenty of headroom. I hope you guys can see plenty of headroom for when a helmet is being worn in the car. So we had the side pillar, or side hoop, I'm sorry, follow the door line up by the sunroof, and then come down and go close to the A pillar, so that there's tons of clearance, and you can see when driving. You don't have the A pillar sticking out in the middle of nowhere. Another thing that we did on this cage was he wanted the dash bar or knee bar kicked back so that we can fit the stock gauge cluster in there. So now when the when the dashboard goes back in, there'll be room, because initially when you go straight across, you cannot fit a stock gauge cluster in there. So as you can see over here, this is how I do my intrusion bars. I like to have the side hoop drop down in front of the door hinge, because if you have this recessed back into the dash, you actually cannot weld the backside right here. A lot of people like it tucked back in there, and they like it tucked nice and close to the chassis, but the problem is when you do that, you can't weld all the way around. And I like to have a good solid weld all the way around the tube, so that we know it's going to be sturdy. The door bars, he wanted them to be as close as possible to the door. He was not going to be running door cards, so we went ahead and we swept them out a little bit, and they ride right up against the door. There's plenty of room for seat rail adjustment, and getting in and out of the car. Let's go over to the other side. And we'll show you some of the other features of the cage. Alright, so there's a close-up shot of the intrusion bars. Hopefully you can see them. It's kind of dark in here. I tried to get it as light as possible. If you look up here, you can see we're nice and tight up against the rails for where the sunroof used to be. I wanted to bring this further that way. However, in order to clear this piece of the roof, we had to put the bend further back, which in turn brought it further this way. So the main hoop fits tight against the body where it needs to. I always bring it in a little bit from the outside. I know a lot of people like it tight against here, but again, we run into the same issue that when you're tight against here, you cannot weld all the way around the door bars, or any other bar that is going to be facing on this side of the hoop. 1 second. Let me get the light. Much better. Okay, so the rear tubes we actually tied in to right above the frame rail. Want to remove the back cover, okay, where the speakers are and everything. A lot of times I will cut that away and we'll attach to the shock tower and then tie it all in that way. A lot of times you'll see people put a plate here, you'll see them put a plate here. However, you know, that's just sheet metal, so you're not going to get a nice solid structure out of that. Same with here. And these bars, you know, when they're by themselves and they're attached to the wheel well, or they're attached up here and you do get hit, these bars will swing in, they'll kick in. At least when you attach it to the frame rail and you tie it into the chassis the way it's supposed to be, when the car gets hit in the frame rail, if it, you know, hard enough when the frame rail moves, you know, it'll move with the frame rail, but it's not going to kick in as if it's a loose bar sticking out in the middle of nowhere. So we got the air compressor just turned on, so it might be hard to hear me, but this is basically this is it for the cage. Just wanted to give you guys an inside view. If you have any questions, you know, you can ask me questions down in the comments section, or feel free to contact me at the shop. All right, guys, so next week we've got a couple things that we got to do. So our next video will be me tightening up everything on the S14 and getting ready for the next drift event. I have a few front end modifications that I have to do from the damages from the last event, and then that'll be in either the next video or the following video after that. I have 2 motors coming up that I have to get finished, and I wanted to be able to put on this channel as well. We have our 608 horsepower LS package long block that I'll be putting together, and then we also have an LS2 that's going to be going into another S13. That LS2 is going to be a standard stroke build, just with oversized pistons, and then just long block assembly. But we'll give you guys kind of a background on that and see what goes on behind the scenes, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So don't forget to click subscribe down below, and we look forward to spending some time with you.